thousands of years, the Giza Plateau has stood in silence, watching civilizations rise, collapse, and disappear. Yet even today, it refuses to give up its secrets. The Great Pyramid, the Sphinx, and the vast necropolis surrounding them were not placed at random. They form something far more unsettling, a carefully planned complex whose true purpose may never have been written down. Official history tells us these monuments were built as tombs. Massive graves made of stone, constructed with primitive tools, powered by human labor alone. But that explanation begins to crack the moment we look closer. Because nothing about Giza feels simple. Or accidental. The precision alone is disturbing. The Great Pyramid is leveled with an error of less than 1 inch across its entire base. Its stones fit together so tightly that even today, modern blades cannot slide between them. The structure aligns perfectly with cardinal directions, with a level of accuracy that rivals, and in some cases exceeds, modern engineering. So the question becomes unavoidable: how? Even more troubling discoveries add fuel to the mystery. In 2008, studies revealed marine fossils embedded within the limestone blocks of the pyramids. Fossils from creatures that once lived underwater. How did stones carrying the memory of an ancient sea become the backbone of humanity's most iconic structures? Then there is the Sphinx. Carved from a single mass of rock, staring endlessly toward the horizon, the Sphinx appears to be more than a guardian. Some researchers argue its weathering patterns suggest prolonged exposure to water, heavy rainfall that Egypt simply has not seen for thousands of years. If that is true, then the Sphinx may be far older than we are told. And if the Sphinx is older, what does that mean for the pyramids beside it? Were they built together? Designed to function as a unified system rather than isolated monuments? Some theories suggest the Sphinx and the pyramids were part of a vast energetic or symbolic network, a machine, not a tomb. Beneath the surface, the mysteries deepen. Hidden chambers, sealed corridors, and structures like the so-called Osiris chamber hint at rituals and knowledge we barely understand. These are not the hallmarks of a simple burial site. They suggest purpose, intent, design, and perhaps, inheritance. Because the deeper we dig, the more we are forced to confront an uncomfortable idea: what if the builders of Giza were not starting from zero? What if they were continuing something far older, knowledge passed down, or rediscovered, from a civilization lost to time? Or from somewhere else entirely? Across the world, the same shape keeps appearing. Massive stone pyramids rise from deserts, jungles, mountains, and even from beneath the ocean. Egypt, Mexico, China, Indonesia, Bosnia, Cuba. Different cultures, different eras, yet the same geometry. The same obsession with alignment, proportion, and stone. Official explanations call this coincidence. Human intuition, they say. The easiest way to stack stones. But coincidence begins to feel like an excuse when patterns repeat on a planetary scale. In Cuba, sonar scans revealed pyramid-like structures resting deep beneath the sea. In Wisconsin's Rock Lake, stone formations sit on the lakebed, arranged in shapes that resemble ancient pyramids. These discoveries are often dismissed, quietly ignored, or labeled natural formations. Yet no definitive investigation ever seems to follow. Why? If advanced structures existed before recorded history, their presence would rewrite everything we think we know about civilization. It would mean that humanity has risen, and fallen, more than once. Some theories point to a global cataclysm, a massive flood remembered across cultures as myth. The Great Flood. Atlantis. A sudden reset. According to these ideas, an advanced civilization may have existed before the disaster, possessing knowledge of engineering, energy, and astronomy far beyond what we attribute to ancient peoples. And when the waters receded, fragments of that knowledge remained. The Great Pyramid, some argue, was not a tomb at all. Engineers like Chris Dunn have proposed that it functioned as a massive energy generator. A machine that used chemical reactions, resonance, and electromagnetic waves to produce power. The internal chambers, shafts, and materials begin to make unsettling sense when viewed through this lens. There are no hieroglyphs inside the Great Pyramid. No burial inscriptions. No bodies. Nothing that clearly marks it as a grave. Instead, there is silence. And silence, in archaeology, often means we are missing the question, not the answer. If the pyramid was a machine, what was it powering? Obelisks? Cities? Something no longer standing? Or something not meant to be used forever? Because if the pyramids were part of a system, then their builders understood forces that modern science is only beginning to explore. Frequency, vibration, energy flow, knowledge that could not simply vanish, unless it was taken, or hidden, or forbidden. And that brings us closer to the most unsettling possibility of all. What if ancient humanity was not alone in its greatest achievements? To the ancient Egyptians, the line between gods and kings was never clearly drawn. Pharaohs were not merely rulers, they were living bridges between the human world and the divine. Their authority came not only from bloodlines, but from a belief that something greater flowed through them. And no figure embodies this mystery more than Akhenaten. His reign shattered tradition. He abandoned the old gods, erased their images, and declared a single deity supreme, Aten, the solar disk. This radical shift was not gradual. It was immediate. Violent, even. Temples were closed. Priests were silenced. Egypt was forced to forget its own past. Why? Akhenaten's appearance only deepens the enigma. Statues and reliefs show a figure unlike any other pharaoh, an elongated skull, narrow shoulders, wide hips, and a body that seems almost unnatural. Some argue this was artistic symbolism. Others point to genetic disorders. But discoveries complicate that explanation. Around the world, archaeologists have uncovered skulls with elongated shapes in cultures separated by oceans and millennia. Some lack the cranial sutures typical of human skulls. Others show volumes far beyond normal human capacity. In many cases, artificial cranial deformation fails to fully explain the anomalies. So the question lingers, were these rulers imitating something, or someone? Akhenaten founded a new capital, Amarna, aligned to the rising sun. A city built almost overnight, dedicated to Aten alone. Its art depicts the royal family receiving energy like rays from the sun, ending in hands, touching, blessing, empowering. Was this metaphor? Or memory? Even Akhenaten's lineage raises questions. His grandfather, Thutmose IV, claimed his throne after receiving a divine message from the Sphinx itself, a vision promising kingship. The Sphinx was not merely stone. It was a witness. A communicator. A gatekeeper of legitimacy. And if the Sphinx spoke once, why assume it never spoke again? The more we examine Egypt's past, the clearer one truth becomes: its rulers believed they were chosen. Altered. Elevated beyond ordinary humanity. Whether that belief came from myth, misunderstood science, or something far stranger, remains unanswered. But one thing is certain. Egypt was not simply ruled by men who believed in gods. It was ruled by men who believed they were something more. So where does that leave us? Standing before stone giants that refuse to explain themselves. Surrounded by monuments that feel less like relics of the past and more like messages left behind. Not instructions, but warnings. Because the deeper we look into Giza, the clearer one unsettling pattern becomes: nothing there was meant to be simple. Nothing was built without intention. The pyramids, the Sphinx, the hidden chambers, the alignments with stars and solstices, all of it suggests knowledge that did not belong to a fragile, developing civilization. It suggests inheritance. Whether that inheritance came from a lost human civilization erased by catastrophe, or from an intelligence not born on this planet, remains the great divide between history and speculation. But what cannot be denied is this: ancient people were capable of understanding far more than we give them credit for. Or perhaps, they were taught. Mainstream history often asks us to believe that humanity slowly climbed out of ignorance. That progress is linear. That our ancestors were primitive. But the evidence scattered across the world tells a far stranger story, one of sudden leaps, impossible precision, and knowledge that appears fully formed. The pyramids were never rebuilt. Never improved. No prototypes exist. They appeared, and then humanity moved on. Why? Perhaps because their purpose was fulfilled. Or because the knowledge to replicate them was lost. Or deliberately removed. Maybe the pyramids were not built for the people of their time, but for us. For a future civilization curious enough to question, but cautious enough to doubt itself. And that may be the most important legacy of Giza. Not answers, but questions. Questions that challenge authority. That demand curiosity. That refuse comfortable explanations. Because once you accept that the past may be more complex than the present, everything changes. Human history becomes a cycle, not a straight line. And we are no longer the first to stand beneath the stars wondering who came before us. The stones of Giza are still there. Silent. Patient. They do not need to speak. They are waiting for us to listen. And maybe the real mystery is not whether ancient civilizations had help from beyond this world, but whether we are ready to accept that we might not be as unique, or as alone, as we once believed. If stories like this make you question what you've been taught, stay curious. If they make you uncomfortable, that's a good sign. And if you want to continue exploring the hidden layers of history, there are many more secrets waiting just beneath the surface. If this story changed the way you see the past, let it continue. Leave a like so these questions keep reaching others, subscribe to stay close to the next mystery, and follow the trail into the next story waiting for you.